He is the head coach of your Greenville Triumph. He is a two-time World Cup participant and a member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame. He is my buddy on and off the air. Mr. John Harkes joins us on the show. Coach, how we doing, big dog?
Doing well, Rob. Thank you for having me. Great to be back on again.
Let's talk World Cup for just a minute, Coach, if you don't mind. Wanted to have you on to get into where we are with the tournament. And obviously, let's talk U.S. men's national team. To me, Coach, they did what I expected, which is get out of group stage, right? I didn't win the group would have been spectacular. Would have obviously provided a much easier route to the quarterfinals if we'd have caught Senegal instead of the Netherlands, a very good Netherlands team. But the expectation was to get out of the group. My question for you was, as a fan, and we'll get to the manager side of it in a minute, as a fan, A, is that good enough? And B, with us hosting the next one, is it time for us as fans to elevate our expectation to getting out of group play isn't enough? We need to make a run to the second round next tournament.
Well, I mean, look, Rob, I mean, we always want the best, for our national team. And I think managing the expectations is really important, especially when you look at, we didn't make the 2018 World Cup. So there's been a big absence there. And now we get back with a young group, and you have to be careful not to, put too much pressure on them, not to perform. They know what they're doing when they get to the national team level. Certainly things are spelled out, and those conversations I've had. But what you don't want to do is put this unexpected kind of pressure on them to not just get out of the group stage, but then to advance forward. Anything's possible in the World Cup, and we know that. And sometimes you get a little bit of luck as well on a bounce or off the post, or even in another game, you get a different result. If you think back to Bruce Arena and the furthest they went in the quarterfinals in his days back in 2002, we actually got through because somebody else crushed another team. And so you're like, okay, that works, but our team did well. You have to keep in mind they were undefeated in the group stage, and everybody will be like, yeah, okay, Hark, so you could spin it any way you want. Yeah, we lacked a lot of final third, power up front. We didn't have that goal scoring threat. That's an issue. Certainly going forward, I think it needs to be something that you're always looking to improve on and rectify. But overall, our potential players, our young guys, did extremely well. And it just seemed a little bit, Rob, where it was inconsistent in their play, where in the first half against Wales was excellent in the first game, and probably the second half against Wales was one of their worst halves in the whole first round. Now, forward that to England, 0-0 against England, a team that up until they got knocked out were the leading goal scorers in the World Cup. 12 goals at that point and had 8 different scorers. So it's almost like, they did well there, and then to win against Iran, which was a fantastic match. And we wanted to see them really push themselves a little bit. And you saw what Christian Pulisic can do, getting in that run into the box, and that great ball from Dest, which was brilliant. So a lot of good moments, and you can't just overlook it and kind of shadow it and say, oh, wow, they should have done better against the Netherlands. Yeah, they know that. They certainly know that. And eating goals at the beginning they did was poor. Absolutely poor. So lessons learned, young group up against a tactical team like the Netherlands and Louis van Gaal, a great manager, a more experienced manager, unfortunately, than Greg Berhalter. But look, I mean, I think it's a lot to build on, a lot of positivity here to build on as we host with Mexico and Canada in 2026. And maybe it's one of those where there's going to be a lot of different players that push their way into this 2026 side as well. And those guys, Tyler Adams and the Pulisic and Musas and the young players, will have more experience under their belt, and they'll be able to take that forward. Now, who knows what that team's going to look like, and who knows who's going to coach it? Because as we see, there's a lot of unsteadiness within that camp. We're seeing all the reports right now. But look, putting the microscope on top of our guys, yeah, they did pretty well, I would say.
Let's switch from the fan hat to the manager hat then. And I want to we'll deep dive into the issues with Gio Reyna and the locker room and all that, but from the perspective of a manager, and I know you know Greg and have a relationship with Greg, but there's really been, and I've noticed this, a pretty wide divide in U.S. soccer fans, Coach. There is a group who are ready to move on from Berhalter now, think that the goal of keep possession maybe kind of inhibits our guys from trying to push forward and be creative. And then there's the other camp that have a very strong argument of, hey, look, we've won CONCACAF multiple times. We've won the Gold Cup. I think we're 4-1 in the last 5 against Mexico, which is, that's a pretty hefty record as well. Do you feel like we showed enough advancement with a young group that, by the way, Greg Berhalter, I can do this. I've done it a long time. Greg Berhalter has brought into the rotation, has helped them build that core and that foundation. You know, there are a lot of coaches that are very good at the development, but then when it comes time to take that development and win, struggle with that part. There's a lot of coaches that can win, but don't know how to develop. Where do you feel Berhalter is on that sliding scale? Do you think he has done enough within CONCACAF to give him a second World Cup cycle? We saw in this World Cup, a lot of second cycle managers had success and a lot of first cycle managers kind of fell out a little bit. Has he done enough to earn another cycle in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. You know, and look, I mean, those discussions they're going to be hard, fierce discussions, good conversations, you know, between the Federation and Ernie Stewart, you know, and Brian McBride, you know, with Greg Berhalter and his staff. They're going to probably reflect back quite a bit on could things have been done differently and how could we improve moving forward. And then, you know, obviously the leadership, you know, kind of controversy that's been brought up now with Gio Reyna. A lot of fans asking for Gio Reyna to get more playing time. Greg now it was supposed to be exclusive and not on the record, and now it's revealed, and now it's out there about Gio not performing, and his performance was not the best in training. So how was that handled the right way? Everybody's going to have their opinions, Rob. As you said, there's you get criticized for everything, you know, these days. You know, if you do 10 things and 9 of them you do excellent, and the one time you make the mistake is always kind of magnified. A little bit. That's just our culture, unfortunately. But, you know, look, there's a lot of big conversations that are happening right now. And did Greg do enough with a young group to manage them the right way to get the best out of them? And probably, yeah, I agree. From a tactical standpoint, I think there were some hard lessons learned in this World Cup. There was certainly a lack of depth for strikers, you know, to come on the field and actually help a team, you know, perform in that final third and score goals, which is needed. And playing Jesus Ferreira in a must-win situation, knockout round against the Netherlands in his first minutes in this World Cup is very risky, very risky. So, you know, you look at formations, style of play, choices of players, and yeah, it's a big mixed bag, to be honest with you. But managing, you know, what Greg did and got the results that he did, I thought it was a great job by him. And so hopefully, you know, he wants it. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't want it, Rob. Maybe he's at a point where I want to get back to everyday club football. I want to manage on a day-to-day basis, you know, with a club situation somewhere. And, you know, those are a lot of hard discussions for sure.
John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, 2-time World Cup participant, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upside. Let me quickly ask you about that situation, Coach, because, you know, you've got what happens behind the locker room. And I know a lot of managers, and from what we understand from a couple of the players, including Gio Reyna himself, has told the team, hey, locker room issues, stay in the locker room. Like, we're a team, we're a squad. We keep our drama together. We're not going to put it out there in the public. Greg does go in what he thought was a exclusive off-the-record conversation, and he does bring it up. And in fact, we talked about it on the show on Monday. I said, look, I think a part of this is Greg took a hell of a lot of heat for not playing Gio Reyna, for myself included. I will throw my name in that arena. I was shocked, especially against England late, that we didn't see more of Gio Reyna, who I think was arguably the most creative solo player that we had on the roster. I said, I think to some degree, Greg told this story and has let this get out because he's defending himself from the number one critique of him, which is Gio Reyna didn't get his PT. But at the same time, he did, if these stories are true, tell the locker room that in-house drama stays in-house. That's a tough situation that I frankly kind of felt was lose-lose for Greg Berhalter. Either he's got an enormous amount of pressure being applied for not playing Gio Reyna, or he can come out and go, there's a real good reason I didn't play Gio, but also does he lose the trust of the locker room a little bit? Kind of where, like, how do you see that situation as a whole? Because it really kind of felt like a pretty tough one for Greg to win in.
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think you bring up a lot of great points there, Rob. You know, when you're a manager of a team, the number one thing you need to have with the players to get the best out of those players is to have trust. And, you know, if you provide the great culture and the leadership where you have open communication, you can have the hard conversations with the players one-to-one, certainly not, you know, there's sometimes managers don't want to have those big, hard conversations. It seems like they did have those conversations. Now, the way it was handled, everybody's different. I certainly don't think Greg wanted that out in the open, to be honest with you. And look, it could come early, you know, in any of his interviews as a manager, just say, look, I know you have a lot of questions about a particular player. This one just happened to be Gio Reyna. I feel that as compared to the rest of the guys in this particular midfield or in this style of play, that he's a little bit behind in performance, you know, from a day-to-day in training. And if that's, you know, if that's at least put out to the media, then people know why the selection's not happening. So, look, I mean, there could have been handled differently, absolutely, you know, without a doubt. And I think those are, you know, moments where managers all the time, you know, managers make mistakes just like players make mistakes on the field. So self-reflection is huge in terms of growth. And I'm sure there's a lot of self-reflection within not just Greg and his staff, but the players themselves, the way that they handled it. And then also, you know, from the federation standpoint, you know, and the media. And sometimes people argue, Rob, like, can you be, that's a bit naive if you think you're going to put something out like that, you know, at a conference, a big show, and it's not going to get out in the media. I mean, of course it's going to get out, you know, and yeah, you really want to try to keep that internal and protect the team as best as you can.
John Harkes joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, let's shift gears for just a second, Coach, and take a look at what we've got. We had a couple of Cinderellas in Croatia and Morocco. Enormous respect to both of those teams for making it to the semifinals. But at the end of the day, the powerhouses won. Kylian Mbappe in France, Lionel Messi, obviously, in Argentina. You know, as a fan, I think a lot of us are pulling for Leo Messi to get that last elusive World Cup. I think that might be the only thing that stands between him and GOAT status at this point, is to lift that gold trophy at the end. But this French team is just so deep. They're so athletic, and they're so quick to be able to counterpunch when you make a single mistake, Coach. I am leaning France in this one, but Messi was so good in that semifinal game. He was playing like a guy half his age with all the talent in the world. What's your thoughts? What's your breakdown on this World Cup final?
I mean, first of all, like you said, there's so many quality players on both these teams. I mean, you know, whether it be Mbappe, Griezmann, you know, Giroud, Dembele from France, you know, all attacking players that can easily take on one-on-ones and break down the game. And then you look back at Argentina, and the way that, for me, I really think like Messi has not only come into his own, but he's also just at 35 years old, he's defying logic. You know, I mean, he's running around 23 and 24-year-old players, and he's that fit. But how smart and intelligent he is, the weight of the pass. He is a full team player. And, you know, you see him, what he's done with Alvarez, you know, McAllister in the midfield, Fernandez. I mean, these are all quality players, but you can't look past Hugo Lloris, the goalkeeper for France, and also Martinez, you know, the goalkeeper for Argentina. They have been stand-up heroes, without a doubt, in big games. And so, you know, it's going to come down to, you know, don't concede the first goal in this World Cup final. I would love to see Messi win it. I think he is the greatest. And I think he shows that not just in his one-on-one and goal scoring, but like I said earlier, a full, complete player and a leader that not just thinks of himself and his status of who he is, but he thinks of others and he wants to be the best he can. So I really hope he does lift it, Rob. I think, you know, his status won't be tarnished if he doesn't, but it's going to be one heck of a game, man. These are two of the best men easily that we're going to see around the world play against each other in a final on Sunday.
How does, and last one, Coach, we'll wrap it up, and I'll circle back around to the beginning of the interview. How does the U.S. go about, because we talked about the fact that there was a lack of depth at striker. Maybe it's different if Gio Reyna is in a better headspace and he's out there and you can get more minutes out of him. But, we really did. I mean, I thought possession was excellent. The back line played, I think, better than most of us I expected. The midfield was just golden from almost start to finish in this tournament. We just could not put the ball in the net in the final third. When you have that going on, how do we find a Leo Messi? How do we find a Cristiano Ronaldo? We have got an incredible amount of athletes in this country. How does U.S. soccer go about finding what I genuinely feel is the one piece to the puzzle that's still missing, which is somebody that you can pair with Pulisic up top to finish off some of the opportunities that have been created by him and Timothy Weah, et cetera. What's the next step to go find us a Leo Messi?
It's hard, Rob, and I think every country in the world asks the same question, not just the USA. I mean, you look at Croatia and we talk about Luka Modric, who is like a workhorse number 8 in the midfield, but they don't have a Messi. There's Spain doesn't have a Messi. It's Portugal, has Cristiano Ronaldo, but it's very difficult, to have a player like that. So what you end up doing is, because you don't have that individual that can like break down the game and just take on 2-3 players and open up space, you play as a team. And so your tactical formation has to be really, really sharp. And you saw Morocco, how well they defended in the Cup, shutting down team, and Belgium, Spain. I mean, it was like amazing what they did. So, can we grow that player? Can Christian Pulisic, he's still young. Can he grow over the next 7, 8 to 10 years and become, someone like that? I mean, it's hard to find, Rob. These are once in a lifetime, once in a generation players that come around. And Leo Messi, man, we're just so blessed. I mean, you talk about a guy like Maradona and Pele back in the day, and then all of a sudden, generations later, Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo and other players like Mbappe is the next player to really stand up and have that kind of that platform. And can we do that in this country? Without a doubt, because we've gotten stronger and stronger. Our MLS league, Major League Soccer, has gotten stronger. Our USL leagues have gotten stronger. So our foundation is building these players and giving opportunities at a younger age to get involved in the game. So yeah, we got to keep on continuing to grow and stay optimistic, give players a chance, and they'll shine for you. They really will.